And we are back, and so is Order. Congratulations to the boys from Melbourne for locking in the fourth seed. Spawn, I assume you want to take most of the credit?
Absolutely. Nothing to do with players on Summoner's Rift, Nick. As you know, that when a game plan is that concrete, you can't help but win. Nah, in all honesty, that was a good game from the guys. But I feel like that was more of an indication of where Pentanet is at. And Rusty, you obviously casted the game, but I feel like that's not the most organized Pentanet we've seen on Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, not at all, man. I mean, first of all, that's their sixth defeat in a row, so they're having a very bad patch, and this is not the time to be having that bad patch, so it's going from bad to worse for them. But yeah, like, they started okay, and then they hit that, they're always slow in mid-game, like, there is that point, but at a certain point, and with certain comps, you can't do that, and you have to really change the way that you're playing to cater to your opponents.
Look, that's true, but the important thing is that their GM Petey still talks a lot of trash on Twitter, so he's keeping the memes alive online at least, if not on the Rift. Now, given all the spiciness that has happened in this broadcast so far today, we actually missed the title sequence, which I teased 1 or 2 seconds ago, and then we ran out of time to play that before the next game. Patch Notebook, our editor Kent, has been working so hard all week on these title sequences, and then we don't even play it for Seg 1 when we're talking about 10.7. So please, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the title sequence for Patch Notebook.
I wrote you every day for a year.
So join me.
What the?
That was so...
So patch 10.7 is obviously the one we're going to be playing the OPL finals on. It's got remade fiddlesticks in it. We already went over it. Thematically cool champion, but not a great kit, we feel like, for pro play, although it could be really fun in solo queue. Big changes, however, are coming through for Akali, who has always been an OPL favorite, as well as Ivan and Rusty. Now you can actually speak. Your man's back on Summoner's Rift. How are you feeling about the Ivan changes? I was maybe a little bit too negative.
Yeah, I think as far as changes go, they're good. Like, Ivern is always going to be one of those champions that I think is, like, in a weird way, is kind of like a stat ball. You have to be able to play the game properly, of course, but, like, at a certain point, he's too strong and will do too much with what his kit provides. And then if you nerf it, he doesn't do nearly enough. So Ivan is always going to be close to being viable. But first of all, no one enjoys playing him in competitive. Having been a coach, I can confirm very few people enjoy even wanting to practice the champion, and your team needs to really know how he works to make it work. I have a question for you, though, Sport, because I've looked at it. I haven't played it yet. Galio, did you see the changes?
Yeah, so now he gives a small magic damage shield to everyone within his ultimate. I think it's really good. Honestly, I think that if you run like double AP topside and they counter with Galio, like I was saying, the best counter pick to it is Nico at the moment, and certainly will lose the lane, but triple AP topside is very hard to play around. So I think, Galio is one of those champions that always seems to be competitively viable just because of how good AoE taunts and, the semi-global protection is. So I have been fiddling with it a little bit. Obviously, it is a quality of life buff, but I don't know if it's enough to like shove him over the line like the old school AP changes were.
Okay.
Rusty, do you want to counter?
No, I just wanted his opinion on it, because I thought that if it's a shield like his W passive is, then it's actually like pretty crazy, and it lasts for 5 seconds when he lands. So like if it lands and if it works, like that's actually potentially huge. But yeah, no, he said what I was thinking realistically. Like there are set conditions for it to even work.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
The thing I'm excited about though is if tank junglers keep coming back, my boy will eventually get a run at the moment. I swear he's coming. Kane has one of the quickest clears in the jungle. He keeps getting quality of life buffed up. And no one's touching him, Rusty. The latest one was he now transforms much quicker. I can get 7.5-minute transforms consistently in solo queue, which is ridiculously fast. And I don't think people will play blue Kane like I do, but red Kane with things like Yumi, with things like Karma, with how much life lease he has, with new Death to Dance, I think can actually be a champion nowadays. Like, he's not a champion until he gets transformed still, but I think in comp you could get it like 9.5 minutes, and that should be quick enough for how quickly he jungles, because he does jungle in normal form really, really fast.
God, yeah. I mean, I was always an advocate of Kane. If you can make that work, then it's brilliant. Like, if you can get the transform after you have the jungle camp lead, then it's just a nuts champion. So, if you're getting 7.5-minute transforms, that's just objectively broken. Like, the second you transform, you're the strongest person on that map.
Yeah, absolutely. If you transform at warrior cooldown, like you're insane. So maybe look out for him if things like Sejuani, things like Zac start popping their head up again.
The real winner, buff-wise, from 10.7 is, of course, the OPL title sequence game. Because if you ask for a title sequence where it's just the poster of the notebook and it says 10.7 on Rachel McAdams and it has the OPL logo over Ryan Gosling's face, and they give you that plus so much more plus a sex tongue coming out of my mouth. So that's an exciting buff, which we're all lucky enough to witness here tonight, and hopefully we'll never ever have to see again because it will haunt us forever. Audience submissions, by the way, for the 5-stack, the 5 champs that you would want to become OPL casters. Persephorus, of course, the man/woman/whatever animal, human, whoever you are, who submitted the question. Eco for the fast-talking play-by-plays, Sonia for the music DJ, Nocturne for the player interviews, Aurenia for your game knowledge to support Eco, and Draven for your headcaster since he already has the skin. Lady Dubsy says, I painted the Gragas, so basically I'm OPL's 5th casting member. And I think that's true. Lady Dubsy, you probably get shouted out more than anyone on the broadcast. And then Stovey said, Fiddle would be good because he can mimic things. And that's really all we're looking for. That's basically entirely what casting is, just repeating what the other person said, but taking 15 to 20 seconds longer to say it. That's color caster, right, Spawn?
Yeah, you know, Nick, the way I would describe color casting in a nutshell is you have to be able to articulate kind of what your other caster has been able to say, but across a longer period of time. The general time span that you want to be able to do that over is a good 15 to 30 seconds. So, in a sense, you are correct that that is what casting can be about.
The man can't turn it off. He cannot turn it off. He is a professional until the very end.
That was very well done.
Very well done. Speaking of very well done, Direwolves versus Chiefs. Next game coming up.
Banger.
Off the plate. It is a bit of a banger, isn't it?
Do you know why it's a banger?
Rusty,
Because oh, sorry. I just
no,
have to go
no.
real quickly.
Go. Tell the people why it's a banger.
It is such a banger because Direwolves at the moment are so confident that they're willing to put their social media manager on camera in a dirty jumper to trash talk other teams. Like, Toby, shave and clean your jumper before you do your trash talk videos. That's all I'm saying, buddy. Rusty, why is this game actually good?
I mean, it's pretty obvious, first of all. Chiefs need to keep winning if they want to keep outright first place. Of course, if both Legacy and Chiefs continue to win, the last game of the split will be against each other to determine that. And as far as speed humps in the way go, this is a monster of one. Direwolves are a very good performing team. They have had some hiccups, however, in terms of performances. But a couple of interesting things there. One is that they've changed their starting support, and so this is a banger for that reason, as it looks like it's going to be Cupcake playing instead of Decoy, and that always gets the support heart deep within me very excited to see what he's able to bring out onto the table.
However, last time we saw Cupcake play was against this very lineup, Rusty, and they were playing Tahm Kench into a perfect 1-3-1, and then Cupcake called for a mid lane rotation on a Rift Herald play, and his team got clean ace, 5-0. They lost 2 mid lane turrets, and they got their head pounded in. So it's not like Cupcake does have a good track record against this lineup. They had a huge early game lead, but they did lose out to the team fighting prowess of the Chiefs. My big concern is there is a big difference between playing solo queue and scrims to playing actual OPL games. We've seen Cupcake 3 times now in the OPL for the 2020 season, and he is going up against Korea CK, probably the best support in the league, I would say, at the moment. So this is going to be a big test for the Direwolves.
Absolutely, a big test for the Direwolves, a big test for the Chiefs. As Rusty said, if the Chiefs and Legacy keep winning, then we're just going to see them at the Grand Finals for Split 1. But if someone drops a match at any point over the next few game days, then we are really up for a spicy finals because there are a lot of teams nipping at their heels. But let's not wait too much longer to get into game number 4 of the day. This day whipping by, thankfully, and when it comes to tech stuff, but not so thankfully when it comes to just enjoying some League of Legends broadcasts. It's time for Direwolves versus Chiefs, and it's time for the Macca's Champ Select.
Feeling the heat? Grab a pineapple or pineberry frozen Fanta mix at Macca's. With 36 flavours, it's the largest range in Australia. Grab one for only $1. A little goes a long way at Macca's.
Takes place right now here at Spawn. It's Direwolves taking on the Chiefs. It's Chiefs as strong as ever, right? They're full 5-man starting squad with all the highlights that you mentioned before, especially with Career CK. Echo that same statement as well. But then to bring in Cupcake and say, look, let's bring you to the highest stage possible. Let's see what you're made of. Let's see if you're a pick that we can utilize when it comes into those best of 5 series.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, right? I think it's about getting a couple of games under Cupcake's belt before that 5v5 starts, because I don't think Direwolves can actually catch Legacy or the Chiefs anymore. It would require something monumental. They are 3 games behind right now, Skimmy, so it's about, you know what, let's find our best starting 5. Cupcake, now that the league is online, doesn't have the pressure of leaving university, goes to University of Auckland, so travel was really, really difficult for him. Doesn't have to live in a gaming house, he is a little bit older. So I think, you know, things are lining up for Cupcake. And whilst he did lose the game that they played against the Chiefs Esports Club, which I am trying to pull up right now, so bear with me, I think that he is certainly one of the better supports in the region that has ever been produced. And obviously that's big praise for the man. So very excited to see him back playing some good League of Legends.
Yeah, that'll be a monumental moment for that to take place as we see exactly how these bans go on through. It'll be an Orn LeBlanc and a Philios taken away here by the Direwolves as we wait for the Chiefs' final ban. They've gone for the Wukong and the Syndra. So already 2 fantastic mid laners. We've seen a very high priority on those already today. And the Wukong, one of those interesting picks, right? You either let it through if you have an idea, like I guess your guys did yesterday, or in the game before, sorry, with Order managing to outplay that one. And the final ban will be the Olaf. So what's up for grabs? It's going to be a first pick set.
Yeah, and the thing is I just don't think Wukong's very good. If I put all my cards on the table, right? I think that he's kind of been a little bit overhyped. He is one of those champions that needs to get gold. So he's a good counter pick in my opinion, but if you blind pick him with the hopes of putting him in the jungle, he really is just a CC bot. I feel like you can't get enough economy on him in the jungle to make him worthwhile. However, a pick that is good in 3 different roles, maybe 4, and Chippies plays it like a master, is set. I think that leaving that up and available for Chippies is really asking for trouble. I'll see what Thean wants to counterpick it with. Maybe it is going to be something like a Renekton, which we've seen already. I think Order tried to do that against the Direwolves, but they still lost. Chippies is really a master on this champion.
Yeah, and I mean, Chippies has definitely displayed that he is very comfortable in this, as well as the Camille. Only played Olaf in the top lane once in recent weeks, and that's where the Chiefs decide to go for. So they decided to, deny that away from them. Potentially, once again, another idea of, we believe we can take on this set, we have a response to it, but we don't want to run up against a composition where it can just run us down with that Ragnarok. And once again, it's going to be Katsuri with the misfortune. The guy always gets one of these top 2 AD carries and always puts in the work.
And the thing about Katsuri, right, is the Chiefs have so many weapons, but people are going to have to start looking at rosters, because you look at Katsuri and it's always that. It's like, he does so much on the top 2 AD carries. He does so much on the top 2 AD carries, but you have 3 bans. Like, you can get rid of 2 of those carries. You can really force him into a difficult situation. Yeah, I think Vital is the best AD carry in the league at the moment on current form. Did have a bit of a poor weekend last weekend, but I think, that notwithstanding, has had some very stellar performances. So I'm not surprised to see the Direwolves throw the gauntlet in that area, but I think that in best of 5s and going into the final series, Chiefs AD carry does need to start being pushed. He's the youngest member of the team, and I think that he's the most inexperienced, apart from Career CK, obviously. I would like to see teams try and bully him around slightly more.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at his roster right now, he's only been forced to play the likes of Ezreal and Lucian once, right? Yeah. So definitely in the best of 5, I feel like the ideas that are going to be formed for that are going to definitely push his roster to the limit. But he's, from what I've understood when I've spoken with him, very comfortable on these other champions. But hey, if those top 2 are up and available, why would you not, right? Why give yourself a harder time than is necessary? Well, let's have a look at this pick ban phase. Zillion is going to be locked on in here by Direwolves, and the response is the Karma. So already 2 hybrid supporting mages, if you will, that can be flexed either to mid lane or to the supporting role. Keeps both teams
going
guessing.
mid, mate. They're both going mid. TikTok Shock on the clock. When Shock first came into the OPL, he was known as a Zillion one-trick, actually. It was his first one-trick of them all. He really is one of these players that will spam out games. Obviously now known for his Cassiopeia, his Urgot, his Mordekaiser, things like that. But his Zillion really was where it all started for him. And Claire, I don't know if you've been watching the Chiefs highlight footages of Claire and Croc duoing together, but they have been playing Karma plus Gary jungle, and Claire pretty much is Croc's support player. And he just runs around and does what Croc tells him, and then Croc kills everyone. So that's why they're banning away things like Graves, things like Kindred, because you do not want to give the duo, hard carry jungler plus supportive mid laner. It's just too hard to deal with.
Well, what was it we saw last week? He went in the Graves against Gravitas, and he was literally 1v9ing, right? The guy was like 9 kills into the game, dashing over Baron Pit and like, I will kill you. In a game where, the rest of the team were a little bit, content with just pushing waves and whatnot, he was definitely making a name for himself, and I think that's really been the identity that Croc's brought to this team from the very get-go. All about, I can do this, and this is, as you say, so many, it's almost like a Hydra, right? This is like so many heads, you chop off one, but there's all these other threats always coming at you from every angle.
That's not what I expected, however. He's going for a Trundle. A little bit of a supportive jungler pick from Croc. Unless we say something like a Trinity Force, but I'm not expecting it. I'm expecting this to be like a full support Trundle being picked up in the jungle, and that feels a little bit more like a Protect the Katsuri comp coming together now. And I was going to mention the fact that the Chiefs missed a ban here. I would have said they would have loved it to go towards something like a Varus. Obviously, a Varus doesn't get picked up here, and it's going to be something more like the Callista. It's not as big of a deal. And whoa, that is just so much scaling on the Direwolves lineup. I really like Direwolves team comp. It's one of those scaling comps that you look at it and you go, wow, they scale really good. But they might just win 2 lanes as well.
I mean, the Callista Taric, we've seen it once today, but we've seen what it can do on the international stage, and it is dirty. Vital's actually not played the Callista just yet. He's played a lot of different AD carries. Bear in mind, his roster is 8 AD carries deep, so he's definitely not afraid to flex his mechanics on multiple different in that roster. But the Callista Taric interaction will be an interesting one, and one that will definitely showcase what Cupcake brings to this team.
And this is going to be interesting. We've got a hard 4 comp. When you have a look at Karma plus Nautilus, Trundle and Misfortune, that's a really good 4, but Akali is an independent champion. She either wants to be looking for deep flanks or wants to be in a side lane split pushing, versus the all-out 5v5 composition of the Direwolves. That, to me, tells me that if Direwolves get to objectives first, Skimmy, if they're the first team on Summoner's Rift, then they're going to do a lot of damage. It's very hard to face check them. Once they're in, it's very hard to pull them out. They've got double invulnerability on their comp. They've got so much consistent damage, right? So Chiefs need to play a good game here. This composition, I would say, favors the Direwolves. We've said that teams keep picking teamfight into the Chiefs and not letting them get away with these cheeky early games. Well, this is the exact same thing one more time. Direwolves pick 5v5 teamfighting, and the Chiefs are going to have to pray for a very, very good early game.
You'd hope so. You really would hope so. And I think that you hit the nail on the head with the fact that they have so much reliability with the double invulnerability, the ability for both tanks to jump in, and then they can get the Cosmic Radiance, or they can get the Disengage, right, with the Fate's Call, or even a Zillion Time Warp, right? So there's just so many different ways for them to be sped up, to disengage, to get a second life, that it makes it that when Chiefs go in, definitely do need to find the value, and I think it really harms the ability of Nakali. We're looking for that one shot to really run the fight, or the bullet time coming across, zoning out members, and they're forced to sort of disengage. So I think, as you say, Direwolves definitely getting a composition that really fits to them, and it all starts with the fact that Chippies gets a pick that he's very comfortable on.
Yeah, and I mean, Chippies is a catalyst for this team. It's funny, I would say there are 2 people in this game that can genuinely 1v9. One of them being Croc, he's going to be playing a Trundle. But the other is Chippies. People sleep on how good this guy is when he plays at the best. He said he had a bad weekend last weekend. I would not expect him to have back-to-back bad weekends. It just does not happen all that often.
Definitely does not. But let's crack on in. It's game number 4 of the opening week of Week 10. As we are into our second Super Week. It's all to play for as teams are looking to guarantee themselves spots in towards that playoffs. We know that these 2 teams already are in there, and they are confirmed. But it looks like the seeding as it stands, Direwolves far too far behind the top two between Chiefs and Legacy to get themselves out of that third spot. Regardless, though, it's going to be a battle of the Titans to get a bit of an assessment as to how these two teams really fare going into next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think a lot of people, now that the gauntlet is starting to look more locked in, are casting their eyes ahead. And I think that it's something that, you know, people are going to be very interested in with the upper-lower bracket format of the new finals that are going to come to the OPL, Skimmy. Sometimes some of these teams are going to lose and have a second crack at it. And that really hasn't happened before within the OPL. And if you have a look at how dominant the Chiefs have been, but in recent history have yet to be able to string together a best-of-5 victory. Split number 1, they finished second. They lost the best-of-5 versus Order to make the grand final. Split number 2, they actually finished first and then were able to go toe-to-toe with the Mammoth lineup. This is a team that might need a couple of shots at it because they are quite young, but you know what? The new finals structure might just suit them for it.
We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be a fantastic game regardless. And I mean, we talk about before what Direwolves have in terms of a very strong, superior composition as a rounded whole. But I think, you know, what will be the individual components going into that we really need to look at to sort of get those guys online? Are we looking definitely towards mid and jungle or elsewhere?
Yeah, I think when you have a Zillion, you play away from the Zillion until level 6, right? And you can see Miru already doing that, looking for the split map vertical jungling, trying to take away this blue buff. However, CK moving over. The patience is running out. Croc will lose a smite.
He will. Miru will take that blue buff for free, and Cupcake is there with the dazzle to prevent any form of engage, any form of retaliation, really.
And that's a steal. Because now you've only taken a blue buff on each side of Summoner's Rift. The map is no longer split, which Chippies would be very thankful of because he's cussing his team out at the start of the game, saying, how did I get split on when I'm playing an aggressive laner like the set? But now that's no longer the case. You can see Miru already makes his way back up there. Croc going to be slightly slower on the jungle clear as well. Really good recovery there. But as I was saying, you want to play away from your Zillion. You probably want to play towards Chippy's lane at the early stages, especially if Thean is going to be willing to do this. Look for Miru to get involved in the top lane, I would say, Skimmy.
Well, that's what we'll have our eyes firmly fixated on. And I think it's a nice little denial. It was definitely high risk and high reward. Gonna really stump Croc and his ability to really command that early game. Definitely going to be a bit of a XP disadvantage as a result of that one. And Miru will be able to abuse the fact that he'll have that buff online for a little bit longer for superior wave clear, for superior ability to rotate and get himself ahead to influence these lanes. But we've seen in last week, yeah, definitely Chippy's having a rough time, always being responded to in that side lane, unable to get the Dream split push to really buy himself and the rest of his squad just so much priority elsewhere on the map. So looking forward to see what can take place here. And speaking of the devil, Katsuri is forced to use the heal.
Yeah, it certainly is. 2 summoner spells are actually burnt there. CK also had to use the exhaust. Katsuri with the heal. Vital and Cupcake just playing nice and aggressive in this lane early. And you can see building a wave here. No rotation going to come across as Shock Izum, so we'll decide to take a recall instead. So no turret dive going to be happening, but it's always good to get the early mental win and the summoner spell win. How are you going with energy levels, Skimmy? Are you feeling good? Like, how's your coffee intake today? You got a lot of caffeine going into you?
Mine is good, bro. Yeah, I'm onto my second. We are getting it done. Already high energy as it stands, so yeah, caffeine definitely pushes me that much further. So regardless of how many games we have to do, you always see me at the end of the day, ready to rock and roll again.
So my fridge broke during the week, right?
Okay.
There's not much action happening right now, so we'll just talk about this for a second. So my fridge broke during the week, and I've got one of those fridge freezers. Mm-hmm. And I keep my coffee beans in the freezer because it stops them from going stale, right? So then you can get a fresh grind, and you can put a nice percolated pot on. Mm-hmm. Just talking a little bit slower because Chippy's wave is pushing out. He might get ganked here, actually. Croc goes in.
Yep, coffee aside, it's a gank attempt. The pillar goes up, and the flash goes away. Chippy's not going to fall victim to an early gank like that.
Yeah, that's a nice gank. Blows the flash, however. No ultimate available, so no chase there. They also now bring Miro up. I'm going to park the coffee story for now, because I feel like this could be a spicy moment. Thean in the top lane is face checking. They're all in him.
They are. And it looks like he's going to fall on down. as we get the Observer now into the top side of the lane. He's going to crash, and that's a lot of CS he's going to miss as a result, unless...
He's not going to miss it. He is a greedy man. Oh, he is! This is the first time I've ever seen Thean fall off a creep wave like that. Normally he would be saying, Claire, get ready to teleport, because I'm going in. However, he just gives the creeps up. So early advantage to Chippies in this top lane. Counter pick aside, not working out for the Chiefs top laner right now. It's going to be a 300 gold lead.
The best start possible for Chippies. The ability to get himself in that spot, and with the pressure that Mirror provided, Claire is not going to fall victim to the bait of burning a teleport.
Yeah, so really well played there. Chippy's going to be able to maintain his TP. Claire will use his to get back to the mid lane. And what I was going to say is, so today I was like really looking forward, because last week what I did is I put my pot of coffee on at the start of the day, and then whenever we went into game, I just was able to go get myself a fresh cup, right?
Sure.
And it was so delicious. I'm a big coffee lover, and I was just like, you know what, this is what Melbourne's all about. Good coffee, casting from home, not in the cesspool of a city that is Sydney. Like, I'm really enjoying this. And I said before, like, we were doing rehearsal, and I said, hey, am I done? And the producer said, yep, you can go. I said, thank you very much. I'm going to go make myself a cup of coffee, a pot of coffee. And Jenna was just sitting in the kitchen, and she was like, oh, no. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, when our freezer broke, we just threw out all the coffee. So I've been coffeeless all day. So now I've got a headache because I'm caffeine deficient right now.
That's
Skimmy.
the worst.
Yeah, having withdrawals, hands starting to shake. It's going to be a bit of an invade coming in on the bottom side of Summoner's Rift, however. Proc will actually get that smart away.
Well, I'd hold your hand, Spawn, but apparently I'm in dirty part of Sydney, so we can't do that. Got to keep our social distancing. So you can't have my coffee, unfortunately. I am a man of very little culture when it comes to the coffee. Instant coffee is all that I need. Otherwise, I am definitely off the edge.
What's your instant mix of choice? Are you like a Makona?
Not so. Like, I've got this this fancy Korean one that my girlfriend gave me, and like it's this instant sachets, and it does the job. I don't know what Koreans do, but they're on point in many different ways. And Tien is definitely taking a bit of a beating here in the top side as we talk coffee. Yeah, caffeine is the 900 IQ conversation talking point right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's going to happen until Thean has his Gunblade. And this is why we say so many Akali lanes are subject on being able to pick up that one item spike. And that's why you even bypass things like boots to get towards it, Skimmy, because your trading pattern puts you in an area where you have to be at risk of being traded back upon. And you can see Chippy's read that one really nicely, despite the Shroud, able to also land a couple more autos than usual and the big W. So really good trade there. Thean going to have to use some potions to heal up. But I would expect this side lane to become fine once Thean does pick himself up a Gunblade. And he's still up in CS despite being pulled off that wave. So the counter pick is working out. But you have to say, with this relaxed game state, with how slow Summoner's Rift currently looks, and the fact that there's also a teleport advantage right now for the Direwolves as Chippy heads towards the bottom lane, the map probably suits a comp that has a Taric as well as the Zillion. I would very much like to be on Direwolf side of Summoner's Rift right now.
I would say so as well. Yes, Cupcake has now just got level 6, so it becomes even scarier for Chiefs to try and find that engage. But they're going to look to do it anyway. Croc is going to be the one to jump in, empowered by Claire's shield. Damage comes out. The damage is complete, and Miru is going to be the first one to fall on down, but that's the power of Zillion as he gives him the revive attempt. Now Tien jumps in, and he's looking for that kill. Katsuri in so much trouble, but Miru follows him across the wall, and Tien does the damage, but Miru disengages. It's the first blood picked up here by Miru, and a second kill as Vital gets on the board as well. A trade takes place in the end as Claire finds one, and Vital is dashing, Vital is clapping, and he finds a double kill to his name. Who picks up the Rift Herald? It is Direwolves as well. It's the dream situation, just as you called.
It certainly is, and I mean, they just didn't respect the teleport advantage. You can see that they brought Thean straight to the play, but the flank that Chippies was able to get just took Katsuri out early. And everything just lining up. No level 6 there for CK. We're going to take another look at this one, and you pointed it out so well. Cupcake getting this level 6 just before the fight is going to be hugely influential. You know you can't win a smite fight here if you are Croc. He's just tickling, doesn't even use it, instead gets a big ultimate. But that Taric ult probably saved the day. Look at Cupcake frontlining with it. Would have fallen down if not for that Taric ultimate. Instead, he was invulnerable. And Mir surviving on just a slither of health means that Claire kind of is baited in to look for the additional kills. Will ultimately have to run away through topside of Summoner's Rift. You can see it was a 3-for-1 trade and Rift Herald going across the Direwolves. Who cares? More importantly, 1,000 gold lead right now and objectives in their favour.
Absolutely, and Direwolves absolutely take those, and they brought it to Chiefs last time, and they want to look at a repeat performance in that same fashion. There's Croc shows face again in the lanes, looking to burn out flashes, and that he does. Zillion now without that summoner spell, but the fight takes place top as well. A skirmish beating both laners down to half. There's always going to be those interactions for both players to showcase the mechanics.
Yeah, and you would expect both fairly long ultimate cooldowns, so not much action going to happen outside of just a little bit trading. If Thien had ulti there, it certainly would have been a winning trade for him. However, CK marching forward, but members streaming into bot.
Out comes the depth charge, followed up by the hook and the pillar to block, and he kind of disengaged. The bullet time connects, it kills, it does the job, but he's locked in the Cataclysm and he's QQing to his teammates there. It's going to be a double kill picked up by Cupcake. The Baking Man is doing the job, the bombs are delivered, and a triple kill is achieved. Direwolves running rampant.
Yeah, they certainly are. And that was just such a well-coordinated gank because they had complete control of bottom side river. Look at the prior vision that has been set up. So Croc thinks that he's making a hole punch play, thinks that if he comes through lane, maybe they can catch Vital out. Well, they do pick up 1 kill, but 3 going across to the scaling lineup. If you are the Direwolves, you would certainly take a 2,000 gold lead at this stage of the game. And Zillion, you can't kill him, mate. If you use all your bursts on someone else, Zillion just runs around really quickly, dodges out skill shots, and has so much zone control with these time bombs. It is really difficult to handle a masterful Zillion player.
I'll throw this question to you, Spawn. Who do you think has the harder time here in the sense of, is it more on Direwolves to execute their composition perfectly with these ultimates, or is it more on Chiefs being able to find a window to try and execute between those invulnerability periods?
See, I would always say that the Direwolves comp is easier. And the reason I like Direwolves comp, and this doesn't suit a lot of OPL teams, but this is typically how League of Legends works. If you're able to get mid-priority, which when you have a look at the lineup, Vital, Cupcake, and Miru should have a lot of threat on Katsuri, especially when his flash is down, so I would say they should get mid-prior. Then you can generally get to an objective first. Then if you start the objective, Skimmy, hold the thought because big trade coming across, no more action happening there. If you start the objective and you have a tank, which they do, some healers, which they do in Cupcake, and a Callista, you can stay on the objective the whole time. The game plan has to be for the Chiefs to therefore engage on you, right? And what I'm saying in a long-winded way, if you get there first and you start the objective, the Direwolves comp is so easy. Chippies grabs whoever engages, slams them on the back line, makes room for Vital to be able to free hit anyone he wants to. If you make a mistake, Tarek brings you back to life. You know, Zillion brings you back to life. Happy days. So I really think that the Direwolves comp is easier to play, quote-unquote, but only if they get there first. If they have to start face-checking, it gets very sketchy.
Well, that is going to be what we're going to see right now, because Chiefs are the one first to the Dragon. They're going to get a second one to their name if they can get the smite across, which looks to be the case right now.
And that's why they don't go for it. You know, Direwolves know their comp is sketchy if they get their second. And meanwhile, top lane, this is going to be the all-in that we're talking about.
It is indeed. Chippies goes for the slam dunk, the Haymaker giving him a fantastic shield, but now Tien waits for that one to go out, goes for the execute, goes for the ult, and he gets the kill in the 1-for-1 trade, or the 1v1 fight.
Just when you're complimenting Chippies right now, he's been able to navigate this early laning phase. He had that big first wave that he forced the N off. He makes the mistake that everyone seems to make. Just shop when Akali has Gunblade. You need to come back with some form of magic resistance. Does not do that. Has to burn the flash as well, Skimmy, and Thien still cleans him up. You have to think how much easier that gets now that, you know, there's an extra 400 gold on the Akali and no flash available on the set.
The scary times, and this is what Tien needs to give them a bit of grace, really, as they had been quite scared when those team fights had taken place. But I suppose it really begs the question now, if they can find priority in these lanes, if they can win those matchups in the solo side splitting, then the ability to control vision and get to the objectives first for Direwolves never to really get those dream circumstances to set up becomes just that much easier.
Yeah, and I mean, Katsuri now has his flashback and available, right? So he's also going to staunch fairly hard on that mid lane wave, whereas, you know, Shock, who's currently mid lane, he doesn't have that up and available. I actually would have liked to see CK go towards that mid lane, just throw an ultimate at him, you know, see what Shock is going to do. Can they get an important Zillion ulti out before the Rift Herald fight? Because you're already just catching this top lane wave deep, right? Little things in these games, but I feel like Chiefs are pretty content. What the N would be saying is the longer this game goes, the harder I win side lane. So it doesn't matter if we lose the 5v5 team fight. Kind of reminiscent of the Order game and many games before that when he was on the Fiora. It's like, okay, if I win the split push, why do we ever need to fight this team with all 10 members on a screen? Like, let's just, you know, give up the second Rift Herald. Let me take bottom lane and let me have a little bit of pressure on Summoner's Rift.
Well, that seems to be the case right now. Does have that teleport online, bear in mind, and is actually pathing his way up to mid lane as Set looks to do the same and go down to bottom side, but now they're going to cancel each other out. The TP is going to come out eventually from TN. He's going to try and make something happen. It's going to be rather late because the Rift is down to 1,500. The Cataclysm not really finding too much, but it will secure the damage as they pick that one up. As Chippy's frontlines multiple members, TN jumps to the back line, and the smoke screen is huge. Zillion ult used first of all, and the Cosmic Radiance to follow up. This is the invulnerability window. 3 seconds that they've got to disengage from. Flashes go out, and they scurry left and right. They are split apart, and Direwolves hunt them down. The center blood is apparent. The first kill achieved, and they look to try and execute a second underneath this tower. Dazzle won't connect, but Chippies doesn't care. He makes them kiss. He grabs them in. He finds one, and Tien wants to try and be the hero to find at least one in this trade. Rough times right now.
Still has ult, right? Can he turn around and use it?
He's going to use the bullet time, but it doesn't do much. Mirror jumps in, is going to fall on down. They do actually pick up Katsuri in the end, and they get the 4-5 ace. Direwolves in a very strong position now.
And Skimmy, I said, why would you ever fight at this stage of the game, right? Just give it up. But the Chiefs, they decide to fight anyway. They've made it work in the past in the OPL, but this time it bites them so hard in. That was just an absolute what across the board, right? That is going to be Direwolves going 5 for 1. They've now got themselves a 5,000 gold lead.
I like that use there, mate. That was a fantastic use of the audio box as we jump into this replay here and just see just how forgiving it was, really, for them to play with their food.
Yeah, and I mean, you have a look at how tanky Chippy is. Well, what's tankier than one Chippy's? Like, when you have to kill him twice. Oh, by the way, he's going to, you know, maybe have a Taric ultimate as well in some of these fights if they play it flawlessly. And you can see how good the comp is. When you're willing to burn every flash running forwards, Skimmy, means your comp's real good. And that's exactly what happened there for the Direwolves. Chiefs stick around underneath this turret. They think it gives them a modicum of safety, but it turns out it does not. Cupcake really tanking this turret well. And I don't really know what Thiem was thinking, right? He's diving back into 5 members with his flash. Maybe if he has it available under the turret, more room for outplay. But just didn't work out for the Chiefs and Direwolves. Once again, I called them the favourites to win the season last week, right? Then they have a poor week. If they beat the Chiefs, does that mean they go back to being the favourites again, or does that just mean Legacy is going to be on top of the world? I'm confused.
At this stage, Spawn, I really don't know. Week 9 shook things up considerably, and as far as Week 10's going so far, it seems to be a little bit on the same narrative. A week-long break, maybe what these teams needed to re-establish themselves in their respective ladder rankings, but a lot of flashes were burnt in that fight, and a lot of value was found as a result, as Direwolves are now triple in terms of kills, and really working that gold lead as well. 5k to their name, and really up to Croc now to try and find some influence. Not really finding as much love as he usually would on a tank jungler. He comes to the top lane.
Right.
Pillar is going to be used at the very last second as the Blade of the Rune King gets first of use. Actually, sorry, no, it's going to be the Gunblade. And that's really pretty rough when you dive a set as 2 melees. Use the grip, and he just takes you down for 3.
I mean, that was a really shocking dive. They weren't able to bring any more people there because they completely lost mid lane priority. As we mentioned, without Katsuri's flash, there's really no way they can maintain that. And at this stage of the game, they have to look for desperation engages, and that's exactly what they're going for. But Direwolves too good. They know that. They just dodge out, and they're going to take structures everywhere. Now 7,000 gold the lead, Skimmy. We're 19 minutes in. 7,000 gold is that's really a shellacking. That is so far ahead.
And it's gross considering that these 2 teams are at the top of the ladder, right? We're talking top 3 teams here. The fact that there's that disparity between them at the moment is incredible. And we talked about in the past, right? You know, Chiefs and Legacy, they're in a league of their own. Yes, first and second equal. Then you look at other ladders, other members on the ladder and think, oh, you know, they're in their own little category. And after last week, you thought, have Direwolves maybe peaked too early on in this season? Well, they're coming to this one and they're proving everybody wrong. They are definitely showcasing that, look, we know what we're about. This composition favours us. And Chiefs are getting a little bit bamboozled as it stands.
And I said this last time Cupcake played, and I wonder how much of it is true. He sits on the team as like a coach as well as a substitute, helps Kai out. And I always fantasize about having this veteran player that coaches sometimes and, you know, plays. And you can kind of send him in like sporadically with a game plan. Like, hey, this game plan is all about team fighting. And, you know, sometimes Chippies like to split push, but what I really need you to do this game, Cupcake, is just encourage the guys that when we have our windows, when we're on objectives first, that we just team fight. And then he's never going to lose sight of that, right? Because he's one of the people that comes up with that game plan. Because that's kind of what it looked like. You know, first time they played, this is a hard 1-3-1 comp. Let's always play around time games. Well, they made one mistake, they lost the game. This time it's hard about team fighting. And every single time a team fight has broken out, the Direwolves have either been there as 5 or not fought. And that's very impressive.
It's been actually quite enjoyable, right, to sort of see that level of discipline and to understand what this composition wants to do, and you know, highlighting the fact that TN should not be joining that fight, and then watching it happen and seeing this sort of the aftermath take place as a result. Now, these players obviously incredibly smart and relatively, obviously, the reason why they're in this position in the league. To see the adaptation take place would be good right now for Chiefs to still put up a fight in this one. You talk about the gold lead, 7k as it stands. Chiefs will definitely have the mechanics to keep giving them a go, but it depends if Direwolves can keep finding picks like this. The double Zillion bombs to lock him in place. Miru bashing on his head. The Cataclysm coming on down. And the Dazzle just a little bit too late, a little bit out of range. The stopwatch is used to negate the bullet time. And he just flags and drags out of that one. Not going to worry. Summoner heal, the only price paid.
Yeah, however, they do trade a Summoner spell for a Summoner spell, as well as a Zillion Odd. It's on a very short cooldown right now, but any trade that you can take, like at this stage of the game when you're 7,000 gold down, is a pretty good trade in my eyes, Skimmy. It just buys, like, even if it's seconds longer on Summoner's Rift, maybe it's, you know, that miracle territory. With all that said and done, however, they've got complete control over this Baron area. And, you know, if we go over the checklist, mid lane priority, well, you can see right now Katsuri is sitting at his tier 2 turret trying to clear this one out. Getting to the objective first. Well, that is exactly what is happening. Chiefs looking for a cheeky hole punch play in the bottom lane. They're going to team up the Akali as well as the Karma. Both of them do have flash, Skimmy. So there is a chance that this, not flash, both of them have teleport, so there is a chance that this works and they teleport towards Baron before it goes down. But Chippies has some rare discipline. He's going to go take himself some Krogs and not going to be baited into this one.
Well, that begs the question, right? You know, with Direwolves having such a strong advantage and being in a position where they can quite comfortably get down deep vision, get to the objective first and set themselves up for that success, what do we need really from the Chiefs to get themselves back in the game? You've already highlighted the fact that they should be able to win these solo lanes with primarily Akali, but outside of that, are you just looking for them to go as a roaming gank squad and try and burn crucial ultimates?
Nah, I really want them to just continue to do what they're doing. They need to, you know, keep Akali bottom lane. They need to get as much farm onto him as possible. He's 184, so he's, you know, pretty okay with the clock. Needed to probably be a little bit further ahead. Rotating to that fight probably cost him 20 or 30 CS, given the fact that he died as well. But I think, you know what, keep your Akali side lane. You need to have threat somewhere on the map. Right now they have no threat anywhere. And then you just pray that your 4-man can hold. Like, it's going to have to be a mistake from the Direwolves, or, you know, maybe you get a cheeky smite from Croc when he has flash available. But at this point, you really are, you know, desperate times calls for desperate measures, Skimmy. We're on stage 3 lockdown, and that's what the Chiefs have to do. They have to batten up the hatches, and only one person is allowed out of the house at a time, and unfortunately that's Akali.
Well, that's to keep an eye on where Tien decides to place his eggs in the basket, because right now he is sitting to that bottom lane, and it is going to mean that Chippies can say, look, let's just set ourselves up as that 5-man squad again, and we can keep threatening the idea of doing a Baron, and that's exactly what they're going to do now. Is it's going to result in Korea CK forced to burn a control ward and try and get an idea as to, do we force this fight? Tien, do you need to come up?
Yeah, well, right now he does, because you've let the Baron get down to 5,000 health. The problem is that's a crappy teleport ward to go to. Looking for a fight here.
Does have the movement speed to make sure that he can jump in with a bit of time. The Baron is getting lower by the second right now, and Miru is quite low in that health bar, about 25%. The Baron down to 2k health. Slam dunk comes out right now from Chippy, says Miru's going to fall on down, receiving a Zillion ult to make sure that he lives another day.
They got
the
everything!
Baron is picked up. It's stolen by Croc, and they're going to get a full ace, it looks like right now, as they need only 2 more members, both Shock and Cupcake, to fall on down. How on earth they've managed to steal that away from under Direwolf's nose right now. There's going to be 1 more member in Shock. He is in a state of shock, and the lockdown paying dividends because the quarantine is complete.
What the heck just happened? You could see Miru sat on the Baron, went down to 15% health, had to get a Zillion ultimate, had to get Taric ultimate. Both invulnerable ultimates overlapped on top of each other, still did not save the jungler's life. The smite steal was there from Croc. And I cannot believe the Chiefs have somehow managed to pull this back. That is nearly a 5,000 gold swing. They're going to put themselves on Soul Point. How do they keep doing this?
You can never write off this team. This is the Chiefs, and we've seen stranger things happen, but the fact that now they have evened up this gold and found a fight in a situation where the ward, as you say, wasn't desirable, but the fact that Miru, those ultimates just had to be burnt so early.
Certainly did. Let's take a look at this. So Miro goes back to the Baron solo, and he's not in range of getting healed. That bullet time keeps him on the Baron solo. And you can see as the engage comes in, Miro falls to solo health, had to burn the smite to actually keep himself alive, and Croc just drive-bys it. I mean, that's really beautiful play from the Chiefs. I said it needed to be a miracle. Well, that looked like a bloody miracle. They just did not turn as a 5-man unit, caught between wanting to complete Baron and wanting to turn for the fight. You can't do two things at once in League of Legends, Skimmy. And the Chiefs teach the Direwolves a very valuable lesson.
They sure did. And this definitely blows the game wide open right now. 25 minutes into this one. It almost looked like a write-off, with Direwolves having the superior comp, the superior execution, and a superior understanding of what they need to do. The ball really was in their court, right? The gold lead, everything was looking so desirable. And Chiefs now have put this game on a knife's edge. The fact that they've now got a soul point being threatened and the ability to now push out some turrets to try and equalize what the Direwolves have done in the early to mid-game.
Yeah, I mean, Baron is the great equalizer of everything, right? If your win comp is you need to be able to split push and get control of waves, Baron makes that much easier for you. You can see big wave building on the top side of Summoner's Rift. They must be closer to items, though, because they're not willing to push this. And I also think that, you know, whilst that is a momentum changer, if the game hadn't have gone this way, right, and the Direwolves had been even at 25 minutes, we would have said, you know what, their comp still outscales. They still have a 3-item Callista. They have themselves the Zillion, who, you know, has got himself a death cap as well as that Rod of Ages. Like, they're absolutely fine with the state of the game. And I think the Chiefs realize that as well. They're not, you know, counting their chickens. They know that that team fight saved the game, but that team fight definitely didn't win the game by any stretch of the imagination. They need to be able to pick themselves up that soul, and they need to be able to take care of business here.
Well, it's given them a second chance in this game, much like the playoffs, and that mid turret will finally fall 27 minutes into this game. A blank start, a blank chance, really, at rewriting the script in this one. And we may just see a bit of a back and forth, really, as both objectives will be spawning in the next 2 minutes and 40. Establishing some control, completing final items, getting as much strength in the arsenal before that fight takes place again, and ideally not looking for a repeat.
And I love this call right now from the Direwolves. Just march it down mid lane, get full control, push them out, you know. Little bit of an alpha mood there. Show them who's boss. Hard rotation now down into Theon's lane. Let's get him off that wave as well. Let's take back all control over this area. We know we're still strong. We know that we have to fight for this next dragon. Sometimes like little plays like that actually resets the mental. When you see the Chiefs start running away, you think, you know what? We actually can still team fight them. Let's not fall into too much of a negative mindset.
Absolutely. And we can see now, as a result of that play, they are going to go back for that shop. So keep our eyes peeled on to what they decide to buy. You can see that Chippy's is definitely working towards that Death's Dance, an expensive item, but one that gives him so much extra beefiness and ability to survive in these engagements as he jumps into the frays of that back line. And now Stopwatch is available here for Vital. So if it was hard to kill him before, well, he's got basically triple invulnerability to juggle around with. So definitely a lot of tools in the pockets, as it's now under 90 seconds for these crucial objectives to come online. So the game now becomes, you know, vision, really. And you'd imagine that Chiefs definitely want to go for this soul point as a priority. Is there a world release spawn in which, Direwolves just rush the Baron and trade it over?
No, I don't think so. I think that you still want to just fight over the objectives that the Chiefs want at the moment. I think you can force them to go towards the Dragon and be there first. You can see that their vision's on that side of the map as well, Skimmy. So I think we're going to see a handshake and team fight. If Thien stays on a flank, there is a chance that the Chiefs win this one because he has got his items. I do want to talk about the GA, like components being picked up by Vital. Sometimes you can have too much of a good thing. You know, Easter is great because you get Easter eggs. But if every day there's just bloody Easter eggs, hold the thought.
Well, if there's Easter eggs, then there's diabetes as well, because they're going to fall down with the pain that is coming at them. Claire is forced to disengage away from that Cataclysm as Croc takes so many bits of damage towards his head. He's forced to disengage away, running straight in towards a bullet time. The wind up, the 2.5 second delay of that Cosmic Radiance is enough in the end, but they now are immune. Cupcake falls on down. Claire makes sure of it, and Chippy's with all the strength is going to fall on down. That's a double kill, and Tien has run off the map, waiting at the Zillion ult, and coming in with the double.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just an over-aggressive chase. I hate it when teams do this, Skimmy. It's actually my pet peeve. When you set up all of your control on bottom side of Summoner's Rift, and then you just chase a team into Fog of War on top side of Summoner's Rift. Like, I don't understand why teams do it. They had complete control of the Dragon area. Instead, they try and pull the trigger onto the 2 tanky members while the Chiefs kite it out. And unfortunately, the punchline of the joke is if you have Easter every day, it's not all that special. But I think that, you know what, at a certain point, Vital needs damage, not more survivability. If he's with a Taric, if he's with a Zillion, that's your survivability. You know, pick yourself up something else. You know, another Zeal item if possible. Potentially look for something like a Mercurial Scimitar instead. However, now the Chiefs get their second Baron buff of the game. It's going to be with all 5 members having it. They've also got the Dragon Soul. And this game looking very, very hard to recover now.
What a turnaround of events, right? 30 minutes into this game. If you've only just tuned on in, you would have thought this is an incredibly even game, but for the majority of those first 20 minutes, it was definitely Direwolves finding the opportunities, getting the kills, and getting themselves in a commanding spot. The fact that one Baron flip has completely rewritten this one and just given Chiefs so much momentum to find fights. It definitely changes the tune when it comes to a sense of confidence and just clarity as to, you know, where did we go wrong? What do we do?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of those games where it kind of gives you confidence as Direwolves because you think, okay, we are good enough to go with this team. We just mis-executed once. But if it happens too many times, and this happened the last time the Direwolves played the Chiefs, right? You start thinking to yourself, wow, like, what is wrong with, like, what part of our game is defective where we can throw back-to-back, you know, 5,000 gold leads versus a team? Because that really does start to, you know, really you know, players. They get very annoyed with it, Skimmy. So I think this is going to be one of those games where if the Direwolves look at it objectively, they will say we could have won this game. But I think that the, you know, what ifs around the game are also pretty powerful just before playoffs.
Well, it's going to be one of those moments where I'm sure they wish the bleep was all they could have in their head right now because they are probably expletive spamming. Not sure what's gone on with this game, and the Baron buff is going to be utilised to find pressure once again in all of those lanes. Bot lane forgiven, bot lane forgotten. Mid and top is where the action is at as the 4-1 split continues. And now is as good a chance as it gets, really, for Direwolves to try and find an engage, to try and get a member off and deny that Baron buff from finding all the value that we know it can.
I mean, I think they really want Death's Dance on Chippies before they look for something. Because you already mentioned it, the item is so expensive by itself, and it kind of sucks at components levels. You know, you've got to support Aegis as well as the fact that you've got a Caulfield's Warhammer. So if they could just, you know, hold on that little bit longer, maybe lose an inhibitor for it if you have to, but make sure that before this Elder fight, which is probably the last fight of the game that we're going to see, Chippies is ready to roll. I think that they would take that trade right now. I also think they're doing the right thing. They're giving all their gold towards Vital. At this stage, Shock doesn't need any more gold. He's just a Zillion, mate. He's going to be absolutely fine. They're going to lose some base turrets. Oh, actually, they go.
They just want to go in for the fight. They do not care whatsoever, Spawn. Once again, the overlap between Taric and Zillion happens again on towards Miru, on towards the junglers. He falls on down. The GA is going to be popped. The members are falling on down just like that, and it is gone. Complete disastrous. Twice the execution has not been as flawless as we came to expect. And this is why I beg the question, right? Who has an easier chance of executing this one? Is it on Direwolves or is it on Chiefs? The opportunity was granted. Chiefs are going to steal away a victory here. Hats off to them. Direwolves will secure themselves with the 3rd seed, but we won't know until tomorrow who gets the first spot going into playoffs.
Yeah, and that was a really intense game. That had the feelings of a playoff game, right? It would have been easy for the Chiefs to say, you know what, our spot in the playoffs already secured. We don't really need this one. You know, we'll just duke it out with Legacy tomorrow, get that head-to-head. But they really fought back. They dug deep. That Baron fight was nothing short from miraculous. And then to see them also out-team fight them 2 more times, Skimmy. They didn't just rely on the split push. They actually went, you know what, if you want to fight us, let's throw down. And again, a team trying to 5v5 team fight the Chiefs, who are, in my opinion, the best 5v5 team fighting team in the league. And it doesn't work. Surprise, surprise. We'll see if teams keep trying to go with this strategy.
Definitely making a case for themselves in that game, playing from behind and playing with conviction. That does it for the game between Direwolves and the Chiefs, and we have more action coming up after the break, going into Week 10.